Here is the setup flip. Trump's defense is the language, not the signature, though the signature is also disputed, not the silhouette drawing. The specific, two-line rendering of a woman's figure sketched inside a birthday book for a convicted sex offender that Trump's legal team says he did not produce. The defense is the language, the specific, documented presidential claim that the words inside the birthday note are, quote, not my language, that the phrases, the construction, the specific vocabulary of the letter are foreign to the man whose name appears above the signature, whose team is now suing the Wall Street Journal for first reporting the letter's existence, and whose denial was entered into the public record with the flat, confident, declarative certainty of someone who has decided the claim is operative, regardless of what the tape shows. Jimmy Kimmel heard the language defense. He went into the archive. That is the cold open of the story. Not a dramatic live television moment in which a letter is held up and read word for word while the studio goes silent. What actually happened is more forensic, more documented, and more devastating than any single dramatic gesture. Because what Kimmel produced was not theater but evidence, in the specific, itemized, phrase-by-phrase format of a man who has been covering Trump for long enough to know exactly where to look and what he will find when he gets there. He said, "In the spirit of fairness, we decided to conduct a little investigation to see if perhaps he is correct." He said it in the flat, wry, forensic register of someone who has already completed the investigation and is now performing the premise of impartiality for the specific comedic purpose of making the conclusion land harder than it would if he had simply asserted it. He said, does he actually use the words and expressions found in that letter? That's for you to determine. Then the montage. The letter opens with the phrase, "There must be more to life than having everything." The montage produced 3 separate archived clips of Trump saying, from different podiums and different years, "I have everything." The letter includes a phrase constructed around the formula, "I know something, but I won't tell you what it is." The montage produced 3 separate archived clips of Trump deploying, verbatim, the construction, "I won't tell you what it is." The montage ran phrase by phrase, each phrase from the letter, each phrase followed by the archived Trump footage of Trump saying the same phrase, in the same construction, in his own documented voice, from his own documented appearances, across years of recorded public statements that constitute the most extensive personal verbal archive of any figure in American political history. The language defense collapsed phrase by phrase, not because Kimmel argued against it, because Kimmel let Trump argue against it. Let the archived record of Trump's own documented language stand beside the disputed letter's language and produce, in the specific, side-by-side, phrase-matched format of the montage, the most efficient possible refutation of a claim that the evidence was always going to refute. That is the dual timeline running through this story, the letter timeline and the archive timeline, and the documented moment at which Kimmel placed them beside each other and asked, "You determine." The letter has its own documented history. It arrives in the public record in the summer of 2025, when the Wall Street Journal first reported its existence, a birthday book assembled for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday in January 2003, contributed to by members of Epstein's social circle, containing a note and a drawing attributed to Trump. Trump sued the Journal within weeks. His legal team said the letter was a forgery. They said the signature did not look like his signature. They said the language was not his language. September 8, 2025. The House Oversight Committee released the letter, not the Wall Street Journal. The House Oversight Committee, the specific, formal, institutionally credentialed instrument of congressional oversight that obtained the letter from Epstein's estate and placed it in the public record with the flat, procedural authority of an institution whose documented function is to make things that are hidden visible to the people who are governed by the people doing the hiding. Kimmel covered it the same night. He said, Trump asserts he didn't compose or sketch this. This implies that someone must have traveled back in time to implicate him. He said it in the flat, wry, one-sentence register of a man who has been covering Trump since 2015 and has developed the specific economic efficiency of someone who can locate the single most precise absurdity in any given claim and deliver it in the minimum number of words the absurdity requires. He said, that is not merely a birthday message. That reads like a signed admission. He said it in the cold, forensic register, not the performed outrage of someone who is discovering the finding in real time, but the flat, documentary voice of someone reading reading a document and reporting what the document says. The letter, as released by the House Oversight Committee, contains a note in which Trump references things he and Epstein share and expresses a wish that every day be another wonderful secret. It contains a silhouette drawing, the specific two-line rendering, attributed to Trump. It bears what appears to be Trump's signature. Trump said, "Not my language, not my signature." Someone is trying to implicate him. He is suing the journal. He will not comment further. Kimmel went into the archive. The montage is the receipt in this script, not a physical object held up to a camera. A compiled, phrase-matched, side-by-side video document placing the disputed letters language beside the archived record of Trump using the same language, from the same vocabulary, in the same construction, in his own documented voice, across his own documented history. It is the specific forensic instrument of a man who has been watching and cataloging and archiving and covering the same subject for 10 years, and who has developed, through that specific documented decade of attention, the institutional knowledge of where every phrase lives in the archive and how long it takes to find it. He found it, he played it, phrase by phrase, archive clip by archive clip. The language defense dismantled not by argument, but by the language itself. Trump's own documented language, placed beside the disputed letters language in the flat, phrase-by-phrase, side-by-side format of an investigation conducted, as Kimmel put it, in the spirit of fairness. Then, February 2026, the Epstein files released by the DOJ, the specific, partial, Groundhog Day release of approximately half the documented Epstein archive, containing flight records, correspondence, and identifying information for members of Epstein's documented social circle. Kimmel covered the release the night it dropped. He said, "Donald Trump's name was mentioned 4,896 times in the Epstein files." He said it in the flat, documentary voice, not performing the significance of the number, just reading it. 4,896. He moved on to the next item. He said, Trump had the audacity to play the old Jeffrey Who card, pretending they weren't actually friends. He said it in the flat wry register of someone for whom the Jeffrey Who card is a documented, archived, frequently deployed instrument that he has been watching Trump play since 2019, and that has the specific, recognizable quality of a move he has seen enough times to name it by its shorthand. The Jeffrey Who card, the not my language defense, the someone traveled back in time to implicate him framing, the sued the journal move, the House Oversight Committee release, the 4,896 mentions, the montage, the phrase by phrase, the you determine. These are the rungs of the escalation ladder, the documented sequence of events that constitutes the real story of Kimmel and the Epstein letter, placed in order with the timestamps attached, without the dramatic single-moment framing of a letter held up on live television while the studio goes dead silent. The real story does not have a single dramatic gesture. It has a decade of documented archival attention deployed phrase by phrase against a language defense that the archive was always going to refute. The pause, the specific jacket and cuffs beat of this script, is the pause Kimmel took after the montage finished. The pause before the you determine. The specific, unhurried, completely confident pause of a man who has just placed the phrase-matched archive beside the disputed letters language, and who has decided that the pause is the conclusion, that nothing needs to be added, that the montage has said the thing the montage was built to say, and that the job now is to get out of the way of the evidence and let it arrive at full weight. He paused. He said, "That's for you to determine." Trump did not post about the montage. He did not address the phrase-by-phrase archive comparison. He did not address the 4,896 mentions. He did not address the Jeffrey Who card naming. He posted about Kimmel's ratings. He called him a lowlife. He said the show was dying. He said the network was embarrassed to have him. He did not address the language. The language is in the archive. The archive is in the montage. The montage is in the record. And the specific, phrase-by-phrase, side-by-side, you-determine format of the most forensically efficient segment in 10 years of Kimmel's documented coverage of this subject remains in the record, without a single presidential post directed at a single phrase, a single archive clip, a single matched construction, or the single, flat, wry, in the spirit of fairness sentence that introduced the investigation. The language defense said, "These are not my words." The archive said, "Here are your words." The pause said, "You determine," and the record, with every timestamp attached, has been determining ever since. Subscribe right now and turn on every notification, because the archive is still running. And every phrase that gets added to it is another phrase that the language defense will eventually have to explain.